In today's video, we investigate joining multiple motors with an axle or a differential. This question comes up all the time. We will test combinations of three motors: an older M motor, a newer M motor, and an XL motor. The M motors have slightly different but still similar torque curves, whereas the XL motor does not. We will join these motors in multiple configurations and see how they perform. Our Prony brake only has one input, so we need a separate jig to mount and connect multiple motors. This does add a little bit of friction, but said friction should affect all tests equally. Let's look at joining the two M motors first. When we measure their combined outputs with a solid and a differential connection, we find that they're basically the same. In fact, the torque curves for the combined outputs vary less than the curves for the individual motors. They also have slopes half as steep. The combined power curves have peaks twice as high and twice as far to the right. These results strongly suggest that the type of connection doesn't really matter for similar motors. Just do the more convenient thing. The end, right? Well, we kind of knew what to expect with the two M motors, but things get more interesting with an M and an XL motor. Here, the combined torque curves vary considerably between the solid and the differential connection. The curve for the differential connection falls right between the curves of the individual motors, while the curve for the solid connection roughly parallels that of the XL motor. The combined power curves also appear to behave similarly. These results might appear to suggest that a differential connection averages inputs and a solid connection adds inputs, but this still isn't the end. For all configurations, we wanted to gauge the performance of individual motors by measuring their RPMs and deriving their torque and power outputs. For the solid connection, the input speeds should equal the output speeds, but for the differential connection, we had to measure the individual motors. For the latter, we had to modify the combining jig to accommodate extra wheels with the reflective tachometer tape. These next charts show the speed and torque of individual motors as a function of the combined torque. Speed in RPM is on the left, and torque in Newton centimeters is on the right. Again, the M motors paint a similar picture regardless of the connection type, and the picture makes intuitive sense. M motors stall at just over 10 Newton centimeters, and therefore the combined output stalls at just over 20 Newton centimeters. The derived power curve shows that the combined outputs peak at the same place, but with double the amplitudes of the individual motors. The short negative sections come from best fit lines not exactly matching the real data. The M and XL results look very different, so let's look at the differential connection first. The torque curves predict that the M motor stalls at a combined load of 20 Newton centimeters, but also that the combined output could still keep going after the load overpowers the M motor, but not the XL motor. Note that the torque on the two motors basically remains equal. Furthermore, the combined power curve peaks about where the M motor's power curve peaks, and it actually drops off below the XL motor's power curve after about 20 Newton centimeters, suggesting that the weaker motor will bottleneck a differential connection. As mentioned, the solid connection locks the speeds of the inputs and outputs. In the M and XL combination, this makes the torque on the XL motor start below zero and the torque on the M motor start above zero, and this time not from best fitting lines. With no net torque on the system, the M motor will try to spin the XL motor faster than no load, generating positive torque on the former and negative torque on the latter. This time, the power curve peaks closer to the XL peak with an amplitude only a little bit bigger, suggesting that the stronger motor has more influence over the output of a fixed connection. Finally, we did try to plot the efficiency of these systems, but the specific numbers don't mean that much because they contain a lot of accumulated error from best fitting lines. The overall shapes still tell us something. Most importantly, that the solidly linked M and XL perform extremely inefficiently. This makes intuitive sense as the two motors spend a lot of power fighting each other rather than contributing to the combined output. In my opinion, the TLDR is that it doesn't matter how you join similar motors because both connections perform the same, and it doesn't matter how you join dissimilar motors because you shouldn't do that in the first place. On that note, this is the end of the video. Please consider subscribing if you like what we do, and have a nice day.